All right, today we're diving into a theory with a goal so big, it's almost hard to wrap your head around. We're talking about explaining all of reality you, me, the stars, everything from just one single fundamental idea.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. Forget the Big Bang, forget super complicated string theory for a minute. What if everything, literally everything, came from one simple action? A single move that creates stars, planets, life, even our own consciousness. That is the wild idea behind a model called Cornick-7, and that's what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so where do you even start? According to this theory, it all kicks off with one single foundational action. So let's break down what this one move actually is and see how it could possibly be the bedrock for, well, everything. Think of this as the ultimate canvas. Before anything can exist, there has to be a place, right? A medium for it to happen in. Cornick-7 calls this the infinite informational awareness field. Now, this is an empty space, not at all. It's a field of pure potential. It's the absolute base layer of existence. So for anything to actually happen in this field, you need the first ingredient, information. But what even is information when you boil it all the way down? Well, this theory says it's super simple. It's just a difference. Any difference at all. Hot versus cold, on versus off, here versus there, just the mere existence of a distinction. That's information in its most raw, primitive form. Okay, so we've got our field, and we've got the potential for differences to pop up in it. The next piece of the puzzle is awareness. And, it's really important to get this right. We're not talking about consciousness like you and me. No, this is way more fundamental. It's the simple, built-in capacity of the field itself to register a difference. It's the ability to notice information on the most basic level imaginable. And this right here is the big twist. In this model, reality isn't some pre-existing stage that stuff happens on. No, reality is the event itself. It's the actual act of the field registering a difference. The instant that information gets noticed, bam, an instance of reality just happened. So, okay, that's the foundation. A field that just registers differences. I mean, it sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? So how on earth do we get from that one simple action to, the whole complex, tangible universe we see around us? Well, this is where things get really interesting because the theory takes concepts we just assume we know and completely reframes them. Take matter, for example. What is it? It's just a pattern of registrations that's really stable and sticks around. When those registrations lock into a durable, repeating pattern, that's what we perceive as solid stuff. In consciousness, that's just a system capable of super high sensitivity registrations. And time, well, time isn't some river we're all floating down. It's just the ordered sequence of one registration happening after another, A, then B, then C. So the whole process is actually pretty straightforward when you lay it out. First, a difference exists in the field. Second, the field registers that difference. Third, these registrations happen over and over, forming patterns. Some of them last for a split second, some are incredibly stable. And it's those stable, complex patterns that's what becomes everything we know as our physical world. And this is where you really start to see the sheer scale of this idea. We're not just talking about some clever concept for one little part of reality. The claim here is huge. This one single rule applies to absolutely everything, everywhere, no exceptions. Just let that sink in for a minute. What it's proposing is a completely self-contained universe. There's nothing outside this field. It's all just one system, creating and perceiving its own reality just by registering its own internal states. Mind-bending, right? And when I say everything, I mean everything. The scope here is total. From a single, tiny particle to a living cell, all the way up to a distant star or an entire galaxy, the theory says they're all built from the exact same fundamental architecture. They are all just different patterns of registration, only varying in how complex and how stable they are. So this brings us to the real core claim of Cornick-7. There's this word ontology, which basically just means the study of what exists, what's real. And this theory argues that it is the most efficient, most stripped-down, absolutely minimal explanation for existence you could possibly have. And yep, that's where the number 7 in the name comes from. The whole model is built on just 7 fundamental ideas, what they call primitives, just 7 simple rules to build an entire universe. That's it. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. You know Occam's razor, right? The idea that the simplest explanation is probably the best one. Well, this theory takes that idea and pushes it to the absolute extreme. It's like they've weaponized it, just cutting away everything that isn't essential until only that one core process of registration is left standing. And this is the grand finale, the ultimate statement of the theory. All those laws of physics we study, the rules of chemistry, the emergence of life itself, the claim is that none of those things are actually fundamental. They're all just secondary effects. They're derivatives of the one single, true, fundamental action, a field registering a difference. So I'm going to leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought that comes right out of this theory. If time is really just the ordered sequence of these registrations, what does that actually imply? Is that sequence totally set in stone? Or could it, in theory, be changed? Could you reorder it, or maybe even reverse it? It's a pretty wild question to chew on. Thanks for diving into this with me.